The WoW Stratics Podcast, the official voice of a World of Warcraft Stratics fan site, wow.stratics.com.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the official World of Warcraft Stratics podcast, the bi-weekly podcast covering everything within the World of Warcraft, from news, interviews, and much more. Today, we have the usual lineup of hosts. We are joined by Sylar, the managing editor of WoW Stratics, Sam Koss, a writer at WoW Stratics, Metro, the joint CEO of Ace Games TV and also a writer for WoW Stratics, and myself, I'm also a writer for WoW Stratics. In and before the release of the next expansion, Warlords of Draenor, Blizzard Entertainment have unveiled plans to award a free boosted character to level 90 with the purchase of the expansion, along with future plans to award a similar service purchasable in-game from a Blizzard microtransaction store. So let's kick this off, Metro. Let's work through the usual lists of subcategories and work through what exactly this will entail, and our own opinions on various affected aspects of the game.
Alright, yeah, so obviously we're talking about buying level 90s. Now this is a whole new thing, so we got to talk about first exactly what's going to happen with the purchase. Now from what I've understood, I've made a video on this already. Basically you're going to be able to, there's going to be a shop button on the login screen and you're going to be able to purchase it. We don't know for how much yet, we'll talk about that in a bit, but you'll make the purchase and then you'll have credit to upgrade a level 90 essentially to from level 1 all the way through level 89 automatically to level 90. So anybody else have anything to add to exactly how this is happening?
Sounds about right.
The process is going to be split into two topics. All right, we're first going to talk about the level 90 that comes with Warlords of Draenor, because this was announced at BlizzCon, a topic that we all kind of sat here and we mulled over, but we agreed that it was decent because, the main point was that at the time, we thought it was going to mean a level 90 for content that's based on 100. But now, it's going to come out before, and since you're going to be able to pre-order the game and, anytime very shortly receive a level 90, there's some things to talk about. So, in terms of the level 90 that comes with WoD, I remember you having some opinions on that, Sylar, so let's start there.
Well, the 90 that comes with WoD isn't really my issue. I like the 90 that comes with WoD. It's the later discussion that I have some opinions about, to be fair. But, yep, the 90 that comes with WoD, it's a cool idea because it allows people to, re-roll, which is a really awesome thing, because that's the thing that puts a lot of people off playing a new class, is the fact that they just can't be bothered leveling something. It's a pain, leveling, unfortunately, isn't that fun past doing it the first time round, so it allows people to re-roll, allows people to play on new servers, if you're on a bit of a dead server, or a server that doesn't really, cover your language or something like that. That's a big problem on European servers. You just pick a server and you don't know who's actually on it. And so it gives people a new chance, a second chance to be where they want if they can't afford server transfers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree entirely with that. I look forward to seeing that functionality. I remember we talked about it when BlizzCon was happening. Getting perhaps a new 90 to reroll is good. How do you feel about that? The 90 that comes with the Warlords, Miani?
Personally, I will be, I'm all for this. I love the idea of being able to have another alt at 90, but I'm an altaholic anyway. But I'm going to be seeing this as a way of, probably like you, honestly, creating a level 90 on the Alliance side, because all I play is Horde, and it'll be nice to see, the Warlords storyline in particular. Like, the Draenei side of it is going to be the Temple of Karabor. The lore there is very rich and engaging, so it's the side that the Horde side probably won't see faction-wide in Warlords of Draenor. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to raid on that character, but I'd like to have a character that I don't have to, pay money to go and make it Alliance to see that side. So I think that's really what I'm going to be using my 390 for. So in many regards, I'm all for it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, we seem to agree on this. Sam Koss, do you have what are your thoughts on the free 90 with WoD?
I don't like it. That's mainly.
Okay, you don't like it. How come?
Because it's merely from a personal standpoint. I have 8 level 90s, and I've worked my ass off to get the 8 level 90s. And
That's a good point, yeah.
now someone can come in, start the game for the first time, click a button, and he or she has a level 90.
That's a good point, actually, yeah. It does trivialize the process. Even the one with WAD, yeah, it does trivialize the process. That's something we're going to talk about pretty shortly here, but anybody else want to talk about the Warlords? Like the level 90 that comes with Warlords? I guess not. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the meat of this topic, right? Obviously, recently it was announced that they're also going to allow for a purchase of a level 90 flat out. It's just be a repeatable thing. To preface it, I think it's important to remember that if they were going to do, if you're in favor of the one for WAD, you have to at least be acknowledging that this is a good idea, because otherwise people would just continually buy $60 expansions or whatever, $40 expansions, and then trade their account like over to their real battle tag to get free level 90. So it was going to get metagamed one way or the other. It had to happen. Whether or not it's a good thing for the game is what we're going to talk about right now. So the first thing on this list of this laundry list that we're going to discuss here is the veteran boost. Now, obviously, people have seen that there's going to be two strings basically for the client. If you're level 1, you'll be able to make the purchase, and you'll automatically get a level 90 after the purchase is complete and the process is done. But if you're level 60, you're classified for what we know as the veteran bonus. This is going to allow you to have essentially all your professions also boosted immediately to 600. I've already tested this out in the PTR, made a video on it. Seems to work pretty well, but obviously this is pretty controversial. How do you feel about this, Sai?
Are we talking about the whole thing yet? Like, the general overview first? Or the actual veteran thing?
Yeah, I guess that's my bad. We should have did that first.
Yeah, sorry, it's just because that's not really going to get discussed. The general sort of level 90 boost, well, I like the thought of a level 90 boost, don't get me wrong. I like the fact that, because I'm lazy, I'm a really lazy WoW player at times. I go to level a new character and I'm just like, ugh, I really can't be bothered. I have to be in a very specific mood to level. So if I want to play on a new realm, or join someone and play PvP or whatever, or play something new, I have to level it. And I would much rather just be like, nope, I'll buy it, I'll just pay some money and I'll buy it. But the fact that it's going to be given to everyone, I don't like. It's weird to say, but I like the idea of one person. Everyone gets one. It's a controlled amount. It's here you go. You have one to pick. That is your new main or your new alt, whatever. You've got one. But if people can buy them, it allows for so much more. Like you said, it's to stop people metagaming it, but I feel that should be the restriction. It should be difficult to do. If they want to go out of the way to get another level 90, then they have to buy a new copy of WAD on a new account and then pay for the transfer to that account. And it ends up being expensive and awkward, and it shouldn't be an easy process. If they've got the extra money to spend and they want to do that, then sure, but I don't feel it should be just purchasable. And that's because I don't like it. I really... Basically, first of all, I feel people will just play flavor of the month. Like in PvE and PvP, there's always this class that's very, very good that tier. Currently in PvP, Warrior is the sort of flavor of the month. More people are playing Warriors because, they're not crazy strong, but they're stronger than most things. So that's the current flavor of the month. And you don't see them all the time because, well, people just don't want to level one. But if you could buy one, then I feel a lot more people would be like, yep, this is the best thing right now, I'm gonna buy one, let's play it. And there's a lot less effort and things like that required for them to actually pick one up. And I feel also the overall skill level of the game will go down. Now, yeah, people say that won't affect me personally because, I just raid and things like that, but it doesn't matter, it's still everyone else's experience that I'm worried about. There's going to be more people in like LFR who just have no idea what they're doing, and occasionally I do go into LFR. I don't want that to be a painful experience. And also, new people to the game. If you're a brand new person, I guess this covers in the level 90 WAD as well, the free WAD level 90. if you're brand new to the game and you buy the whole thing, which most people would, if you're going to buy WoW, you're probably going to buy the expansions with it. It's just natural nowadays. You'll get it in like a bundle. A bundle. And sorry, personal joke. And it'll just be really, really awkward. Imagine when you first started the game being given a max level character. I know it won't be max level when WoD comes out, but imagine when playing in vanilla and being given a level 50, or playing in TPC and being given a level 60. That's most of my experience. That's most of my memories just gone, being cut out of everything. I mean, I remember leveling up, being a noob, dying to like passive mobs because I thought I had to go past them, and falling off cliffs all the time because I'm retarded and not having enough gold to get my mount, so I'm running everywhere and trying to find my way and going into zones that are just too high level for me, and just doing noob things and exploring the game and enjoying it as a new player. And if you cut out that experience and you're just throwing into high-end content, well, not really high-end, but like close to it, you're going to come across more of the veteran players who are going to treat you a bit more like a non-new player, and that would suck. If you're leveling up, you want to be coming across players who, understand that you're new or are new themselves. And, well, I don't feel you'll get that same experience if you just buy a level 90. So hopefully they put some form of restriction, which I think we talk about in a little bit. But, yeah, I don't know. I personally like it, though. I mean, me personally, I like the idea of it, but overall, I don't like it.
Right, yeah, and I completely understand what you're saying here, and I'm going to echo a few of those points now. The thing that is a concern, right, that you've obviously said, is the fact that people are going to get to level 90 with no clue, with even less clue than they have now. And I'll explain my thoughts on that. But as Siler's also said, I personally, I mean, I am even more so, like, this will not affect me. I promise it will not. I don't, like, the people that this is going to affect are so far removed from the things I do in this video game. It's honestly gonna, the only time I'll see these people is when I'm fucking camping them. Do you understand that? Like, literally, these people do not get into groups I'm in. I don't do things with random retards in this game. So, it sucks, I guess, for some people think this is a big issue, but, I mean, even LFR now, it can't get any worse. I don't see how it could. But, it is a viable concern to say that somebody skipping automatically right to level 90 is going to be an issue, so. How do you feel about that, Mimi?
Well, yeah, there's a good few points there that I completely agree with, but at the same time, I feel that, it's like you said, Matcher, it's not going to impact me in the same way as would other people, even though I'm a more social player. I'm more of a casual player at the moment. I don't raid currently, plan to in WoD, but, I'm not going to be raiding with those sort of people. Anyway, but the point I want to bring up is the fact that, if you wanted a 3 level 90, obviously there's nothing such as a 3 level 90, even in this new feature anyway, you've still got to pay money. So people prior to this change were buying from eBay and other sites to actually get a level 90 character, and people who wanted flavor of the month, like you said, Silo, if they really wanted to go and pay money for that particular class, they could just go and buy an account. And that is a viable option. It is an illegal option, but it is an option that nevertheless people do. And I see this as more of a way of Blizzard approaching that sort of and going, well, there's no value to those characters now unless you've got a specific mount or something. Now you can purchase through us instead of some third-party site, arguably a lot cheaper, and in most cases definitely is, and you get some little bonuses here and there. So honestly, I don't think it's going to change the quality of the players outside in the world that I see, simply because I don't think they have a clue anyway. Because if you see somebody with lots of gear and stuff, the inevitable unfortunate point is that they bought their account, and that's my thoughts on that point. But I completely agree that, if people do this legitimately, and which they're going to be doing now, there will be, there's obviously going to be more people doing this now, which is, backs up your point a little further. But I don't think it's going to be to the point where, I'm going to be doing a 5-man and this guy's going to be like, what does Shadow Step do? And fall off a cliff. Even though that would probably be hilarious and happen anyway. But you know what I mean? People aren't just going to have no buttons on their bars and not take the time to do it. And the other thing as well is that what we've already said is you have to be level 60 to get the profession bonus, right? which I'm sure we'll be talking about at some point. So I think that's going to be the carrot on the stick for a lot of people to actually play a character to level 60, get the basis of how to play the basics of that character or class before they level it to 90 in a lot of cases. There are the lazy people, but I don't think the majority of people will just enter it blind, because I, for one, wouldn't want to play a Warlock at level 90 without playing one before. It just wouldn't happen. So, I don't know. What do you think on that?
Yeah, let me frame. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to chirp in. Like,
yeah, that's fine.
First of all, you said about like people can already buy level 90s now, but the amount of people who do that is minuscule. Like, I barely know anyone who's like bought an account. You know, obviously people aren't just going to be openly like, I bought an account, but you know, I know people who play the game, and the amount of people I've come across who've actually bought an account is tiny. And because it's expensive. It really, really is. Like, most sites, not that I've looked, but most sites want like a large amount of money for a very basic character just because it's max level, because they're, you know, basically saying this is how much your time is worth. And secondly, it's risky. It really, really is. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. It's so easy to get your World of Warcraft account back nowadays because of hackers that all you need to do is cry wolf once it's been sold, and that person's now lost out on their money and their WoW account. So it's one that's really risky. So I feel no one does that. But if people have it in front of them on like a platter, it's gonna be like, yeah, you know, warriors are pretty good right now. I'm gonna buy myself a warrior. And two, you say it doesn't really affect you, but one, you have to look outside of that and look at everyone else as well. But two, you'd still do things like scenarios and dungeons to get Valor Cap and stuff. Yeah, you can, you know, do it with the guild, but there's times that you don't, and you're just going to come across more and more of these players that are just like, alright, yeah, hey, what's up guys, I've just bought my character. Bear with me. And he's just running in and he's like, not understanding anything. Because even though people like to say that characters are easy, if you play someone else's character that you've never played before, you're just going to be like, what? What does this do? It spell deals damage based on, you know, you're just going to have no idea, because the game works off like lots of procs and sort of management of certain things, and it's not an easy thing to just be like, okay, yeah, let's go. So, and level 90 is a lot of skills to pick up instantly, you know, it's not just one or two, you're getting everything pretty much, so I don't know. I feel it's going to affect you more than you think.
Let me frame this. Let me put this in perspective here, because after listening to the two of you and my own opinions, I think I have a good picture of what we're talking about here. Obviously, you know, it's a fact. It's going to affect the game, okay? And I originally said it's not going to affect me, but you know, Sally's right. Eventually, you're going to come across somebody who does. Now, I think more pertinent is to examine how often that's going to happen, because I mean, it's in MoB. I can solo anything that needs a group, literally, besides raids. Like, I can go in and solo 5-mans and solo scenario. Nobody else even needs to be present. So, even if I did run into somebody like that, is it going to be a huge hindrance? But currently, I mean, this happens all the time now. Like, these people are so oblivious. They come in there, they do like 1k DPS. I can literally solo the place, and they're like, wait, hold on. It's like, no, I'm not fucking waiting. I could do this faster without you. You know what I mean? So, whether or not that's relevant, I think is what, in my opinion, is what I meant by it's not going to affect me. Because sure, they'll be there, but maybe, like, if things are actually difficult in 5-mans again in WoD, then we have a discussion. We have a discussion. Because if there's a way that they can get to 100 quickly and still have no idea what they're doing, and they're appearing in my heroic dungeons and we're wiping because of it, we'll talk again. But for now, those people, even if they're stood right next to me, if there's a guy right here, I got my hand on his shoulder, he's not affecting how I play the video game, because I've played it for so long that I know how to deal with people like that. So I think that's what that was my point, and I think Mione understood that as well.
I mean, yeah, there's a point as well to that I've just sort of, you know, clicked into as well. Like, you know, you're gonna have, you are gonna be affected by it. You know, I do retract that statement, because you are gonna see people in the world and things are gonna change. But what my question really is, how many of these people who are just gonna go with their mum and dad's credit card and buy a level 90 or whatever how many of them are actually going to level to 100 and even be in the same places as us? You know, how many people are actually going to get through that process of the gearing stage? If you remember to TBC, the gearing stage was one of the most grueling aspects of that to get for raids. So how many of those people are even going to be in the same areas? It's going to affect us, but I don't see it as affecting us in the places later, you know?
And I would say that I would like to see that come back, because that's a great point. You brought up another great point. If the entry to actual skill is too high for these people, they're not going to get past it anyway. And while, you know, they could get a free 90 now, that's fine. But obviously they'll know nothing about their class. But in order to have the mentality to say, I'm going to start playing this video game for the sole reason of buying this 90, and this is it. Like, you're not going to play the game anyway. You're not going to do anything. You know what I mean? How many people do you just see sit in trade chat all day and do nothing in the video game? And those are the people. Those are the people who are going to buy these 90s. It's either going to affect 95% of people who already have 90s and already, like, maybe if I leveled a rogue, I had no idea how to play it, but I at least understand the game. And the 5% that, you know, these people, they're not actually going to play the video game. They're going to spend whatever it is, $50, however much, to get this 90, and then a month later they're going to quit again, you know, so I don't know.
And that brings up the other point, though, as well. Like, the majority of people, like Metro said, that are going to buy these level 90s are people who already played a game. So how many of these people are going to be coming in brand new? Because they're going to have to do a lot more than they did in Mr. Pandaria to get new players into the game again.
Well, they've already said that they want WoD to be, like, an easy leveling experience. They said they want it to be quick, you know, not as grueling as what things have. And I don't even feel MOP was grueling. Like, you've seen, well, obviously the people listening haven't seen, but we prepared hardcore for Mr. Pandaria leveling. Like, we got potions, food. I was prepared to go for, like, a really long period of time, and we got it done in, like, 14 hours. You know, it was quick. It was really, really quick compared to what we expected.
Yeah, really quick. Took me 7 months to get my first 90.
Yeah, but they're going to have some background in the game, right? They're going to have some experience of one class that they can translate, as opposed to someone brand new to the game who doesn't know what a quest giver is, you know?
But it's not about being new. Like, 95% of the people who buy one will play the game, but how many of them are actually, like, good at the character currently? So them buying something brand new means they're not gonna be at all good. I don't agree with that at all. Like, there's a lot of people in this game. Like, look how many people raid. Maybe, like, 10% of the game are in heroic raiding. It's nothing, really, you know? Yeah, that's what I mean. And that's like, it doesn't take much. I feel bad for saying it, but it doesn't really take much to hit heroic raiding. Like, it just takes a bit of dedication, you know? That's literally it. And I guess a lot of people can't do that, but a lot of people, I feel, just aren't up to the mark for it. Or just haven't put in the time.
I'm with you there. Like I said, there's going to be people out there. Like, I could think of a few of them right now. Like, GamerFan, like, put his name on this fucking list. If this dude bought, like, a rogue tomorrow and was in my group, I'm gonna be like, this dude's clueless. But I think what I'm trying to, like, hammer home is that dude's clueless anyway. This does not change
but
that.
It's just going to be even worse. Like, he
Maybe,
barely knows
but
how
it's
to
so
play
bad as it is. It doesn't matter.
It's just going to be abysmal, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
But, and then you said, like, these people won't be up to par with us, but look at Mr. Pandaria. It doesn't take much to get to where you need to be. You know, like...
I think, yeah, you're actually right, because if you remember when we were doing TOT, we were literally at a point where there were people in established guilds, and we had to take the dredges, didn't we, to even continue raiding. So, we are going to see...
Well, you see, that's where this falls off for me, because that's just not true at all. I mean, it's so obvious when somebody is not ready for content now. Just look at their health pool. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to know these players by tags. They're going to be fucking walking around with a big red hat on that says, I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? So,
but then we've just solidified the point by saying how many people won't be affected, because of how many people are actually in high-end heroic raiding is tiny. So it's a very small percentage of the game that won't be affected, you know, a very small percentage that won't care. Very
few people are in the situation I'm in. So I'm an outlier. You're right about that.
Yeah. Especially on, like, you know, on EU with empathy as it was in TO2, like I keep coming back to. Like, we had no choice but to bring people who were like using alter time into bombs and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, we had no opportunity to not have that. Whereas you have a nice builded community that you have worked, arguably worked your arse off for God knows how many years in the game to get to the point where you can replace people with other skilled individuals. We can't do that currently. Unless people come over and join us, who are skilled, on Taran Mill, Stratics.
All right, let's give Sammy
Oh,
a chance here. What do you think about all this, buddy?
The only reason I don't like it, well, I explained it that earlier, but there's gonna be, when people get their click 90, there are gonna be people on level 100 on LFR just going, oh, look at all the colors. They're clueless.
Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be horrible for any people who just want to go to LFR, get some gear, and then go on to Flex.
Yeah, early on, it's going to be a big issue. You're right.
It's going to be horrific.
Especially because, think of it this way, right? Like Sally's brought up, obviously leveling is going to be pretty, it's not going to be that hard. It's not going to be like it was in Classic, obviously. But, so these people, a lot of them are going to get the 100. And in the beginning, everybody's pretty much at an equal footing. Like, it's all even. We're all in blues, some greens, and we're doing stuff to get gear at this point. Like, I'm not in heroic rating gear, and these people aren't, and there's no difference. So, like Samkos alluded to, I guess you're gonna be forced to play with them in some cases, which does kind of suck. Now that you think about it, but yeah.
And with how this is bad to say as well, but gear, like baseline gear, has become a lot easier to obtain in the game. So it's not even like it's gonna be like, oh, but those people who have no idea will just be stuck at low end content, but the problem is they can get quite good gear and be deceptive.
And be any class with that same gear now.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, well, you can't just look at the gear and be like, yeah, he must be alright. He's got, the baseline gear that you can get pre-rating. Let's give him a shot. But then he could just be like, oh, and has no idea what he's actually
you gotta have it in perspective, though. Because the baseline gear we're talking about...
If they're gonna
that's what I'm saying. If they do it, which they, if they do, then this is kind of like thrown out the window. But one way or the other, you have to look at it in perspective. If this guy, the first tier it's not Timeless Isle. You don't just get handed epics. You know what I mean? You have to. The first tier in MoP was probably the worst out of all of them. You just did dailies and you got gear. So if that type of system stays in, then I guess I agree with you. But the first tier is the worst. Absolutely. Like, I had blue pieces on we were in heroics, and I still had a blue, can't remember what item. I think it was a ring or something. I still had a blue ring on. You know what I mean? It's difficult to get gear in the first tier. So these, I don't feel like at all. No way do I feel like these people are gonna blend in with me. No way.
I don't feel they're gonna go back to that though, because they brought that in, and because that's what people wanted, because they're like, give us back TBC where dungeons are hard and gearing is hard, and then they were like, alright, well, you've got to do dailies, you've got to work your ass off to get good gear, because it was in the beginning, I'll give you that, it was tough. I wasn't even fully ready to go on my enhanced, and I put a lot of hours in the beginning, and it was tough, but then people complained, and Blizzard were like, alright, well, you asked for it, but I guess you don't want it, so we're gonna change it, and I don't think they'll ever go back to that.
I think we're gonna see it happen in dungeons now. I pray to the god of WoW that they make 5-mans relevant again, because once I got some epics, I was easily able to solo them, without any question. It's gonna take a while, obviously, but I mean, they were so easy in MoP, you did not need to know anything about them. You could just walk in and complete them. So I'm hoping that now that they have, because they've already confirmed this, right? It's going to be normal. There's going to be a full set of normals and then a full set of heroics. That was not the case in MoP. There was no max level normals. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it was in BC. Very noted for very difficult heroics. But they were more difficult because the way tanking worked back then. And then Kata, same way. Max level 90s, or max level whatever it was, 85s. And then heroics. And the heroics were very difficult because of the damage component that the ads brought to the group, not necessarily the tank. So I'm hoping for a mix of the both. This is a whole nother topic, isn't it? But I'm hoping that we see some serious 5-man progression. And when those people walk into them, they are going to get their fucking face blown off. and they're never going to do them again. I promise you. I know. I just look at GamerFan. You know, I know people like that. We already know people like this. They're never going to play the game. They're not going to mix in.
I have a question then, from a Blizzard standpoint. If you were a Blizzard employee, just sit. Right, okay, so sit in your office, or your room, pretend that you are a Blizzard employee, okay? Apart from, like, wanting to ban everybody who you hate. But yeah, think about this, okay? From a Blizzard standpoint, what deems the success of the level 90 structure of gifting people this stuff? What would you say would be a success for this particular model of putting in free level 90s or purchasing level 90s in the game? And what would be the negative aspect to stop this happening when the next expansion comes out afterward for level 100? Are we going to see this again? You know, what would you say would be the deciding factor?
I like that. So if I'm, an executive for Blizzard, obviously the way it works is they really have all their internal stats. So I can't speculate on that. But I would say it's successful when they see some type of statistic that is bringing players to the game. That is the pure, I feel like that's the only reason to do this. And then, like, that's 75% of the decision. The other 25% of the decision is to get some more revenue. And unfortunately, that's something that a lot of people disagree with. They're like, oh, Blizzard's greedy. Somebody's like, they're so greedy. It's like, well, yeah, but they put out so much content with each patch. I don't feel that's a relevant argument at all. So if they're trying to get a bit more revenue from this and it's actually a convenient way to do it, I'm fine with it. So if I was, Dr. Gordon G. Blizzard, which I am currently, I would, as long as we're getting people to play the game, then it's success. If people quit the game, if like there's a negative margin, like people are so frustrated with this that they quit the game and we don't gain people, then yeah, that's a failure for sure. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like, you're doing it, if you're a company, you're doing it wrong if you don't aim to earn money. So, I mean, it's successful if, one, they bring people or keep people to the game. Two, a lot of people buy it, like, they make it a reasonable enough price and people are paying for it. And, that would be it. And, like, people say Blizzard are greedy and they're just after the money. Of course, they're just after the money. Like, you don't make a company based on like, oh, let's give all our money away to, like, for free and work for peanuts. They want to make money.
Yeah, this isn't a fucking charity video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, even the indie companies, even the free-to-play games, they have some form of catch. There's some form of place where they can pay people, because if they didn't, it's not going to be a good game. And some games even follow the free-to-play model, but their expansions come out frequently, like really, really frequently. And they have as much content as one WoW patch. But you're paying maybe $20,
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, the WoW patch, literally, I'm pretty sure 5.4 contain more content than SWTOR launched with. But anyway, Stamkos, how do you feel about, like, what do you feel like if this is going to be successful or failure? What's that based on?
It's gonna be a success. It's a free 90, and you can get infinite amount of 90s after that, just by paying.
So you're sold out on this already. You know that this is going to be, no matter what happens, it's going to be a success, despite the fact that you already said you don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it doesn't matter because it's gonna work.
Right, and I think that is a really good allusion to the way Blizzard operates currently, because you'll see even back when Ghostcrawler was still around, he'd be like, "Oh no, we love the way, like we love Rat." You know what I remember this side? Like how bad Rat was at the time, and they're like, "We love Rat," but it's based on some type of internal data, so they don't even care what the people have to say about this most of the time, because they have fact, I guess, somehow that proves otherwise. But yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to the next bit.
Hold on.
One more thing about
one more thing.
Yeah, I've got one more as well.
All right, go for it.
Go on, Samcast.
that you don't run into these people in the beginning when we started. The purchased level 90s.
I said that, yes.
Except when you're leveling and you're doing the first ward dungeons.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know what, honestly though, dude, I mean, this once again, I just, go do a level 34 dungeon now, and you are going to come up with the worst video game players you'll have ever encountered. It's not any different. I mean, it's already happening, and I just don't feel like the sample size is going to be too small.
They know something, because they're level 34.
They don't, dude. That's the point.
At level 34, you have like 3 abilities, so it's not that bad. But when you've got
level
like
90 who just got it. Your tank is gonna have a dagger and a shaman shield.
But it's just, I just don't see how, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not gonna, it's just not gonna affect me. It really isn't. Because I'm gonna know that person immediately, and if it's that big of an issue, I'm just gonna work around it. We'll get people to come, from the guild and stuff. I know it's a different situation for you guys here, and I acknowledge that, so.
My final, thing on that was, I think my biggest complaint with the 390 system is I just feel it's not needed. Like, when I look at and think about the whole system and things that they could implement, I don't feel the 390 is the way to go. Well, not the 390, the purchase multiple 90s is the way to go. I really don't feel the game needs it. But I guess we can talk about that at the end and the alternatives and stuff. But
yeah, there's some things that we still got to talk about. We're not going to talk about cheese now. We're still going to talk about 390s. All right, so let's talk about the veteran bonus. Now, I made the mistake of bringing that up too early. But I like this concept because basically, as Mione, I think, said already, it kind of encourages you to play a character. And especially with the Death Knight, since it's already going to start at 56 or whatever it starts at, it's good to actually play to 60. Maybe you'll learn some. So maybe I think this is going to stem the tides a bit. How do you feel about that, Mione?
Yeah, I would completely agree. Like, obviously, as you said, level 55 Death Knight, and look, I just have to go to 60. Aside from the Death Knight thing, people who want level 600 of each profession, and I presume that includes first aid and stuff, the ball lake that they are to level as well.
Yeah, it does. It includes every
there's
single
two ways
profession.
to look at this. Okay, there's the way of the new player going, well, if I actually play the game a little bit, learn the class I want to play now before WoD comes out, then I'm going to get an advantage over other people and actually have a chance of raiding. If I learn up to level 60 and I'll just grant the rest because it's a bit of a ball ache to level that far. Because 1 to 60 is not difficult in any way. And then the other point you've got to look at is for people who purchase this specifically for the veteran rewards as well. So for an ult, I would much rather have I'm leveling a monk at the moment. Okay, it's level 55 currently at the moment, and I'm sort of getting used to Mistweaver slowly. We don't have a lot of spells, arguably, as Sylar has said, at that sort of level, but I'm getting an idea of how to play the class at base level. And I think that's really, really important. And obviously I'm going to be leveling this to 60 now because I want the veteran rewards when I can boost this for money so I can get 600 professions, because I really do not want to have to level professions on another ult again, So...
Yeah, and I'll agree with you there because think about this, right? If this is what it really should be for, it should be, say, fuck man, we really need a shaman healer. I'm going to switch. I'm going to do it. I'm going to switch for this next expansion, maybe this next tier, etc. And I'm not going to buy it from 1 to 90. I'm going to get to 60 first and then get all the professions I want and then pay for it. Because now I'm going to have every profession in the game, 600 that I want, and I'm already raid ready. You know what I mean? That is so much better. I feel like this is a great idea. How do you feel about that, Si?
Yeah, I do personally like that. I feel, to be honest, I'd rather that just be the requirement. They straight up make you get to 60 before you can boost an enter. Because, first of all, getting 1 to 60 gives you, at least a base idea of what you're doing. You start experiencing some procs and, spell effects and, an idea of what some of your buttons do that you'll be using later on. 2, it cuts out the crap part of the game. It's sad to say, but the crap part of leveling is probably, 58 to 85, for me, that bit sucks. It really, really does. Because TBC is really badly done. It's not been updated. Wrath is kind of meh to level in now. And, Cataclysm doesn't take too long anymore, but it's still irrelevant content. While 1 to 60 doesn't take too long. It's all been updated, so it's nice and new, and the quest lines flow, and it's fun to do, to be honest. Until about level 55, I enjoy that. And then I hit, getting close to Outlander, it's oh god, make it stop. So, yeah, I feel that should just be the requirement. I'd be perfectly happy with, you have to have a level 60 before
if you wanted, yeah, if you wanted to show somebody who never plays WoW, what WoW's about, you'd say, right, play 1 to level 55, you'll enjoy the hell out of it, but you wouldn't want them to go past that point because for a fact they'll be entering TBC and Wrath, which are kind of boring, honestly. Like, Wrath to some extent was quite good. I enjoyed that, but it doesn't compare to how much time and effort and how much love went into the reworking of the old zones. Because Silverpine Forest, if you've never done it before and you're listening to this now, please go on a character and do that area. It is the most fantastic, lore-filled, rich, voice-acted, storyline-filled area you will ever play through in this game. Go do it.
Yeah. And now we'll segue with that, because this is a point that really goes hand in hand with that. As we've already said, Siler, I mean, this is great. We all seem to agree now that there should be some type of limit to, you can't just purchase this when you've literally just started an account. So I think if I were to ask the question, what should the stipulations be? Siler would agree that it should be, you have to be level 60, right?
Yeah, either level 60 or... Yeah, to be fair, before I was thinking more along the lines of you have to have a level 90 to be able to at least do it, but making them be at least level 60 is fine for me. That makes new players have to experience the game to a certain degree, and old players, have to have some idea of what they're doing, and they can cut out the boring bit, the bit that takes ages. And
now, I know, Samkos, you've already said that you don't really like the system, but how would you feel if there was some type of limiting... Like, you had to be level 60 before you can buy it. Would that change your mind on it at all?
I agree with Siler on this one.
Great. Okay. Yeah, so I mean...
Get the 60, get all the professions, and then the 90.
That should be how I agree. That should be... I mean, it's so clear now that we're all talking about it. It's so obvious. If they just did that, that would... I mean, this wouldn't even be discussion, would it? We wouldn't be having this podcast. But...
No, I couldn't see anyone to have an issue with that. Like, what could you say? Oh, the skipping TBC. Oh, like what?
Well, TBC was the best.
The other point is that, like, from a lore perspective, if the people want to complain about, they're missing out on rich lore, past when you go to Blasted Lands, when you step through that portal, you're stepping back in time, technically. Because, honestly, TBC well, content is old stuff. Cataclysm stuff that they reworked the zones is present stuff. This is present day stuff. It's more relevant to your interests.
Yeah, it's less bad, let's put it that way. I mean, TBC, even Wrath, like, they're so bad. Like, going back there now, it's like, obviously TBC was so much better than Classic, but now that they updated it with Cataclysm, it's just like, and it's only going to get worse. So, that's another point that I have for the 90s. Like, I don't mind it because people, think about that, man. How daunting is that? Hey, do you want to play this game World of Warcraft with me? Sure, I can't wait to play with you. Oh, well, I'm 90, you're level 1. See you in fucking 6 months, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough, but I don't know. So I want to move on to
one
price.
last thing on that last point. Just one last thing. Yeah. The alternatives of a level 90 process of boosting people would be to have what Guild Wars 2 has, which is where things scale down, and I don't want to see that in this game.
Underwater combat, is that what you mean?
No, as in, like, if you go to a level area, you can play with those other people. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, see, my computer, actually, I couldn't install that because I think there was a virus or something. It said it was shit, so I didn't bother.
Silo would probably agree with me there. I mean, like, what other options could they have had other than having a level 90 process like this?
Guild Wars 2 is going to be the best skill-based game in the world.
God.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that if you spam, alright, we're not gonna do this. Alright, let's talk about the price. Because this is another huge, like, we're talking about limiting reagents here, might as well keep going. Now, I'm gonna rationalize this first, alright? I'm gonna put this on the table. You guys are gonna say yes or no, whether or not you agree with this. Previously, alright, when they introduced way back in the day, when they first introduced realm changes, okay, Classic, you could only switch from realms. You could not switch from Alliance to Horde. That did not come till later. But at the time, they said, people were like, what the hell, $25? Why is that so much? And they said, listen, it's so much because we don't want people doing it regularly. We want people to be able to do it, but we want to set a price that it's going to be fair, so people aren't just going to constantly be switching back and forth. All right. Then more services come out, right? We got pets and stuff. It's $25 for a mount, right? Like $15 for a pet. It's pretty expensive. $15 a month. You gotta balance that off with the baseline that you are paying already $15 a month just to play the video game. And now it's $25, so more than 1 month's game time to buy one mount. So, prophetic statement number 3 here. It's got to be $50. It's the only way I could see it. It has to be at least $50 to purchase to level 90, because what they're going to try to deter is they want it a good substantial number over how much the other two are combined. And if I remember correctly, that's less than $50, correct?
Yes.
Does anyone know?
Yeah. Wait,
no.
isn't it?
No,
It's 20.
it's exactly 50, isn't it?
Oh, it's
25 for...
It's 15 for. Is it 15 for?
It's 15 for...
server and 20 for faction.
Yes, that's it. We're working
So 35.
pounds to
oh, yeah,
dollars.
So it might be
yeah,
$50.
it's roughly nearly double on those low numbers. So yeah, it would be just under £50.
Damn.
$15 to change servers, $25 to change tag. So yeah, that's $45. So I think it's 50. I think for that reason it's got to be, because otherwise what people are going to do here is, if it was 25, say it's less than the other one. Well, I have this character that I really want to play, like, okay, well, Mione plays on, Realm 6, and I play on Realm 1, and I have this character, I'd really love to play with Mione, but I'm not gonna, I've spent a lot of time on this character, but it's time to start fresh. It's so much cheaper to just buy a new 90. Why would I pay to transfer the character? I think they don't want that at all, because then that's going to take away from actual sales of other things. But so that's my thought. Siler, you're up first. How do you feel about that?
I feel it sounds like, when you look at it in terms of not thinking about everything else and say, new character, level 90, $50, it's going to be like, what? $50? Like, that sounds so steep. But when you actually look at how much we pay for the other things in the game... But, to be fair, I feel all that stuff needs to come down. Or at least, I've said this for ages, they need to make it so that if you've done X amount, it becomes cheaper. Because, goddamn, on EU, I've swapped realms and stuff so often, and faction change and all this crap. I've spent hundreds on just that. So, it's so expensive for what the actual process
Silo,
contains.
how much did you pay for the Skyrim amount on EU? £20. And how much is it on US? $25. That's half of what we pay, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So we got screwed over with the thing, but that's a different story anyway. But like, it's. £20 for the mount is pretty much what you can buy WoW itself for that right now. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah, good
you
point.
can pay more for like a cosmetic thing than you are for the game. So I feel the prices of stuff is high as it is, but if you look at how much everything is right now, then yeah, £30 to £35. I said £30 myself. I would pay, because I'm going back on what I'm saying, but I like the idea of the level 90. I just don't like it for everyone else. I just don't feel it's needed.
It's not healthy for the game.
Yeah,
that's your
not
opinion.
at all. But if it was in and it's there, I would be happy to pay £30.
Okay.
But
and Mione, how do you feel about the price?
£30 sounds right to me personally. Like, I wouldn't pay any more than that.
Is that how much less is that than what I'm guessing?
That's £5 less.
It's about 45
than the server
$45
faction change.
So,
Gotcha.
but I feel that's a decent enough price for But you've got to also remember, from a business standpoint, this is another way of Blizzard saying, well, if you want to spend money on us, you can, and we'd much rather you spend it on this than the brand new game. How many other games would you spend that sort of money on? Not many. Let's think.
League of Legends.
League of Legends with microtransactions. Yeah, that's a different payment model. We can't go into that. That will be another podcast. That is a huge topic.
But that's pretty much the same thing. Like, it's basically cosmetic. It's not actual.
But now we're moving
cosmetic
to
stuff,
non-cosmetic stuff slowly.
But even the level 90 is essentially like. I guess if it's an old, then it's it doesn't really matter. But But in terms of the mounts and stuff, like, I pay that much in League of Legends. It's a lot in lot smaller chunks, but because it's smaller, you tend to do more of them. Because it's like,
That's exactly
it's just a skin,
But no, I agree that the prices are, if they're going to charge, $50 seems steep, but like I said, it's all predicated on the fact that the other ones have to equate to less, otherwise people won't spend it on them. So if they lower them, say, to 7 for a regular, like from 15 to 7, and from 25 to 15 or something like that, then it could be $30. That would make a lot more sense, but I don't know. I don't know about the price. How do you feel about Samcos? You, what price would you be comfortable with?
€50, I'd say, is a good
€50.
price. Yeah, that's about $60, I think.
Oh damn! All right, yeah. So
Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
tough.
because it's if you're gonna do this, it's gotta be not just you do it on a whim.
Well,
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I started with. I agree.
one thing to think about as well is it has to be cheaper than buying the expansion and doing a character transfer.
Oh right, fuck. Damn, that ruins everything, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Well, how much is that?
it depends how much the expansion is, but it's going to be
Well,
about
it's gonna be
40 quid.
$40, $40 US. It's already
So it
announced.
can't be more than like $45.
Well, how much is the character transfer from one account to another? Is that a
I think
different price?
I think so. I think you can just buy the character transfer.
That's
which
more
is like
money. They charge you
five
extra for that, don't they?
Okay, well there you go. So there's a small hole in my idea. Interesting. Well, you know what? We're gonna see. That is definitely, as soon as that's out, that is gonna be I'm gonna be writing a
Yeah.
lot about that. Let's put it that way.
There's a lot of
So-
unknown variables that could come into that. It depends what they do with
Yeah,
the
I
other
mean,
prices as
especially
well,
if
like
it-
Sai says. So
Yeah, as well as if maybe it's gonna be more for homosexuals. I mean, these are all, you know what I mean, viable things, but I don't know. We'll see. So now we'll move on here to the final bit, which is going to be the discussion of where this can go in the future. We're going to start with just the basics. Do we think this is eventually going to get increased to 100, and do we like that? And I'm going to flat out say no. This was meant to be for level 90s when 100 is the max level. It's meant to be so you don't have to power through Wrath and BC, and you could actually play the game now, especially with the new character models, as it was intended. Warlords is going to be the best. There's no question about that. It's going to be the best expansion. I don't give a shit anybody wants to talk about BC. The game just looks so good. It plays so good. It feels so good. I would want to play Warlords. If I was coming in, I would want to play Warlords. And that's why you should have got a free 90. So what do you guys, Siler, how do you feel about maybe
you
an
didn't
eventual?
say though. Do you think it'll happen? Do you think they'll increase it to 100?
That's the scary part. Good question. Do I think it's going to happen? Yes, because I'm skeptical of where they're going with this. And then we'll talk about that in a second, but I'm going to say yes. It's eventually going to happen. But hopefully not until the last tier of Warlords.
Okay. Yeah, if they put it to 100, they are pushing their luck at that point, to be honest. Like, people already don't like the fact that it's 90, and I'm like 90 is pushing it, you know. Like, if it was 85, I don't think I'd have any problem with the whole thing at all, because they've still got some ways to go, but 90 is already, you know, we're getting it before WoD's even released, so they're getting a current max level character, which is strange. But if they put it up to 100 next expansion, then that's gonna be very, very risky, to put it one way. And do I think they'll do it? Yes, I really do, because they seem to just be taking, you know, baby steps with everything that they've been doing on the transaction store. It's like, oh, you know, server character transfers, and like, oh, cosmetic changes to your character, and then like, oh, pets. It's like, oh, mounts, then, oh, you know, cosmetic gear. Bam, level 90. I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, they're going.
well, in regards to the question, do I think it's going to happen for level 100? Yes, I do think it's going to happen. But I hope that it happens when the max level is 110. What I will not be pleased with at all, or be behind this game at any point if they decide to do this, is that if we're raiding in level 100 content, and then near the end of the expansion they're like, oh well, there's another bit of content that we're doing right now, but here, now the rest of these people can catch up to level 100. I will be so against that, it would be untrue. As long as there's a gap of the next level cap long enough for me to not, you know what I mean? Like, I do not want to see it midway.
Yeah, like we agree. It has to come out at the end.
Yeah.
It can't come out at any point where
otherwise
100
people
is still
would be
somewhat of a
pissed,
challenge.
seriously pissed. But I definitely think it will happen. But I kind of hope it doesn't happen for the next expansion at the same time.
Yeah, I would be comfortable if they just stopped this at this point. We're going to talk about why in a second, but Sam Coast, do you have any thoughts on whether or not this is going to continue? Yeah, I think it sucks because, yeah, like you said, it's it's going to be way too profitable. I mean, and we'll talk about this in a very, very short second, but there is way too many people out there who just have like mommy's credit card, you know what I mean? And it's going to be way too profitable for Blizzard. So now, unfortunately, we're coming to the slippery slope argument, quote unquote, that everybody likes to perpetuate. And I'm gonna preface it by saying this. All right, I played on private servers before, and the way that they operate, the only reason they're even still up, even the big ones still struggle, is because they sell pretty much everything. So you can buy it, like playing on Classic, you can buy a level 60. I mean, this is a private server thing, this is very, very common. Buy a level 60, you can buy a full set of gear. On Phoenix Classic, you can buy Tier 2, which is, the second best gear in the game, essentially. And then you can buy mounts, you could donate for mounts, you could donate for rare mounts like the ZG Tiger, the, some other rare stuff like that. You could also donate for money, gold, everything. Professions, free professions, like riding. You could donate to everything. So, obviously that's a bit different because that's the exclusive way that they get money, but like Siler said, they're taking them baby steps, aren't they? I don't know. So where do we think this is going to go is the question we're going to pose at this point. And to me, I'm sad to say it, but it's going to eventually go to gear. And whether or not it goes to actual heroic, like rating gear, I'm hoping that it stays. Like, so right now, I'm fucking 580 eye level, you know what I mean? If they sell 496 gear, like the stuff that you could already pretty much get for free on the Timeless Isle, it's a wash. I'm fine, I guess. It doesn't really... I don't care. I'm not going to buy it because it's so easy to get anyway. But they sell like 522 or even, maybe something else that's current. This is what they do on the private server. Like, selling Tier 2 means you don't have to do like more than half of the expansion. You can go right pretty much to Nax, AQ. I don't know. Scary. What do you think, Seth?
I mean... in terms of that, like, yeah, I'd be okay if they were just selling time, because essentially, if you can get Timeless Isle gear, stuff that's very, very easy to get, then that's just buying your time. Alright, sure, it means you've got more time to actually do the things that you might not have chance to do, like LFR and stuff like that. But then, they'll push it to, well, you're saving your time, why not sell some LFR gear? Well, you buy an LFR, why not buy some Flex gear? Well, why not buy some normal gear? And they've already, I don't know how many people realize it, but they've already sold gold in the game, essentially. When they introduced the Cub that could be sold on the auction house, that was their way of allowing people to buy gold. Because most people bought it, and whacked it straight on the auction house for the equivalent of how much they thought that was worth in monetary value. And pet collectors and things like that who don't want to spend cash would spend gold instead, and they've just converted money into gold through Blizzard. So, I mean, they've already pushed the boundaries with that. And gold currently equates to, you can buy some good gear off the black market auction house, you can get some crafted gear, so you're already halfway there with that. So I feel that's why I don't like the 90 thing, for the fact that, one, I don't feel it's needed in the game. It really just isn't something that's needed. Sure, put in an experience boost. Allow people to do Recruit a Friend, on their own, or maybe even a bit better than Recruit a Friend, maybe 400%. Sure, they still have to level. But them buying Instant 90, no, because then they'll be like, well, Instant 100, Instant 100 fully geared, Instant 100 fully raid geared with epic flying, and they're going to start whacking it up, and it's like, well, what the fuck's the point? So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because all I could think about is when we were raiding on Classic, there was this guy, this dude was full Tier 2, Warlock playing full Tier 2, and this guy walked in the raid, and he was so clueless, it wasn't even funny. And, we've already talked about this. This kind of thing doesn't really affect the game anymore, but at the time, it was like, how broken is that? Like, to be able to purchase these items is so bad. And if they allow it, I don't even want to think about it, man. I love the video game. My heart's out to Blizzard. It's the best game I've ever played by any substantial margin. But if they sell rating gear, I don't know if I can continue. So, Mione, how do you feel?
Okay, well, let me tell you a little story, everybody, about a certain game I played at one point, and more recently as well, on and off, called Rift. Now, this game by Tryon Worlds started off with the same sort of WoW process. It's essentially, you're not in Azeroth anymore. They tried to clone WoW as best they could and worked to their own advantages. And there was some cool ideas, but that's for another time to discuss that. But the thing I want to really talk about is recently with their their free-to-play model that they unveiled. They added the ability to make microtransactions and things with this here and there. But one thing that made me quit that game, literally, I logged in and quit the game straight away, was I looked at the in-game store. And I was like, oh, look what you can get. You can get these really shiny mounts, and there was about 50 mounts on there. I was like, Jesus, that's a lot. And then there was a little tab called gear. And then you could go into there and you could buy gear in level ranges, including the max level for entry level stuff to the raids, including some items from previous raids. And that's the point where I quit the game and I said, right, uninstall that. That is a pile of crap. Worst game decision ever made. So in terms of World of Warcraft, we pay a monthly subscription fee. They're going down the slippery slope, as we've all seen. If they carry on down a slope towards gear, I will not partake in this community any further, simply based on, the principle we are already paying for this game. And I think that we're paying not only to play the game every month, we're also paying for a premium service, right? We're paying for the ability to log in and know that everybody else in here is paying their equal fare, regardless of their background, to pay for a premium quality game with high quality expansions, and we know the money's going to where it's going to eventually come back to us. Whereas in a free-to-play model game, you've got all sorts of strange people coming in, and it's going to attract an entirely different audience if you can simply purchase gear in this game. It would be completely chaotic. Now, the only other point I will put in before I pass this conversation on back to you, Metro, is, say for instance, this game has, 5 more expansions in it, and then they stop making content. Well, that's just a guess, who knows. Hopefully they go further, for better or worse, who knows. But say for instance, there we are, level 150 or whatever, and we're sat down, and there's no more content being created. They could introduce something that we previously talked about, a way of doing old raids, but at that point, I wouldn't mind if they added the ability to purchase gear, because at that point, everybody would be on the same playing field, and there would be essentially, the end game would be the end game, It'd be a private server at that point, But that is the only time I could ever see that working. Anything else other than that, if they do it in a pay-to, a subscription-based game, the model just doesn't work, and unfortunately, WoW will kill itself. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Couldn't agree more. It depends. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the sad thing is, even if they did that, because of how many hours I've put into the game, I just have to let it slip and grit my teeth. Like, my biggest issue is, no matter how far they go, unless they, do something, like, completely stupid. But when they take baby steps like that, if they did start selling gear, I just have to grit my teeth, because I put way too many hours into the game to be like, well, I'm gonna quit now because of that, because as you said before, it doesn't affect me, but it does. Okay, we're still gonna raid in one. The recruits, one of them might come in who's bought gear, but they could just be as bad as someone who's got the gear themselves or joined a guild and got carried. And you can look at it in the way of it doesn't affect you, but it does. But you just gotta grit.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I agree with that. Like you just said, I mean, we have a very rigorous application process, so. If you were to, a year down the line this happens and we were to have the same podcast and you would ask me the same questions you asked me today, I would say it's not going to affect me because those people aren't going to get by the application. So, I don't know. It trivializes the thing that I love the most about the game. And while you said it best, I'm not going to quit. Like, that's a fucking bluff. I'm never going to quit the video game. The only time I'd ever quit the game is if they removed, 25-man heroic rating. You know what I mean? They just take out large content.
We'll see.
The other point as well, like, say for instance they did in 5 years' time, 5 expansions down the line, stop making content, they put the story in, you wouldn't even need to be playing the game because Blizzard wouldn't let an IP like this die. They would create WoW 2, and that's what I think will be the inevitable point, hopefully the inevitable point where that sort of stuff becomes accepted in World of Warcraft as we know it now, when the game isn't actually their focus anymore. Which there will come a time when that happens, unless they overhaul the entire engine in 5 years' time. Which, good luck with that,
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a progressive thing. Like even in real life, you know what I mean? Like eventually, like think about 150 years ago, like women couldn't vote. You know what I mean? Like these things happen. It's just a progression. It depends on how long it takes. I think is what it would ultimately come down to. Like if it happens next month, obviously it'd be like, what the, you know what I mean? But if like Mione said 5 expansions
it's time
from now,
sensitive,
then I guess, yeah. All right. Well, Samkos, what do you have any thoughts?
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
You're not gonna give us your thoughts, or?
They're not gonna sell gear. They can
Not
do
gonna
anything else they like. They can sell pets, mounts, level 90s, but they're not going to do anything that will affect the end game. Not a single thing. It's too important for the player base and for the Blizzard itself.
You've preached tonight that you feel like it's got to be about the numbers and like it's going to be a success because people will buy it, and I don't know. I think you're right because it's too important to compromise the game in that respect. I pray that's the case. I really do, but you never know. In terms of, how about this though? How about if they, so say I get banned, how about this is just a side topic. If I get banned, I am now a slave and I get sold to another player. How about that? That would be interesting. That would be a cool microtransaction. Like Mione's account's been banned. I can now buy his account and his character's like my slave and it has to run around.
You're treading on our cage there. That's another topic. Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Essentially do that in that game. So. The Koreans think of it.
Anyway, so that's pretty much it. It's over an hour now. What do you guys, any closing topics?
My closing topic would just be my original point of, do you feel it's needed in the game? The whole purchase, the WOD one, I'm okay with. I feel that's a fine, one-off level 90. Cool, it's a little perk, but the ability to buy level 90s in the game, do you feel it's actually
these flat
needed?
answers, yeah.
Like you can give a bit more of an explanation, but do you actually feel that the game needs you to be able to buy level 90, or should they just go along the line of, putting the XP flask in the store like they were going to do on the Korean servers or whatever it was? I would much rather see an experience flask than a buy level 90. I just don't feel it has a place in the game right now. I really don't.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you because while I personally will not have any interest in this, I feel like they're grasping at straws trying to get people to come back. And as I've said a few times now, the only way to get people interested in a video game where you have to spend literally weeks leveling a character is to give them an option past that. And while it sucks, we talked about this all night, I think it's necessary. Because especially if there's going to be, think about that. Think about what you did, that 1 to 90 thing with no sleep shit. Try doing that to 100. Think about how long that takes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, good luck. That's all I got to say. But anyway, that's it. I'm good. Anybody else have?
In response to Silas' question, which was about whether or not I agree with this. From a personal standpoint, no, I don't think that this is a good implementation. However, at the same time, yes, in regards for not me, I think it is a good thing to get people to come into the game. There's not many ways that they can do that now. Most people seem like complacent with jumping between failed games for some reason, coffee or so. But that there has to be something. I would agree that their implementation of something like this, I would have preferred it not to be there in the first place. I don't see the leveling process as a long thing. There's 2 levels I have a problem with. I have 11 90s or whatever across different servers and regions or whatever. I have no problem with it, and I don't play this game all the time. I write articles. I have other stuff to do. I play Dark Souls with you, so I don't think it's needed. But for the whole grand purpose of the game, I think something is needed. Maybe not this, but there you go.
As I said, in place of that, maybe a better experience slash, better than our RAF, like 400%. So they can do it on their own if they're on their own and they don't have to rely. Because that's one issue of RAF, is you do it with someone and you've got to rely on them to be online. But if you can buy your own flask and level through, at a faster rate, then sure.
But also there's the fact that you could also go and get the flask from actually playing in the game on another character and going and killing that rare, right? So there are other ways of doing it.
That's like, well, for a new person, they wouldn't be able to do that, and 2, it's pretty hard to do on a populated server. There's people camping that like 24/7.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's shit idea, but it has to be done in some way or another for the audience to keep growing. And at the minute, it's not.
2014, boys. Time moves on, you know what I mean? So, it's whatever. Another hurdle. But I think that's everything. Anybody else want to... What do we do now? We talk about things that we want to...
Yeah, so Metro, you want to start with like telling us where you can, people can come and find you and like what you do?
Oh yeah, sure, I could do that.
What about Sam Costa's opinions on this?
I know, Sam Costa, no.
He's
Go ahead, give him, buddy. Come on.
Oh fuck! I forgot.
Yeah.
I have to apologize. I completely forgot. That's really rude of me. I apologize.
Yeah, it's the, I hate it.
Yep.
But it's necessary.
Good.
We don't like it, but
Yeah.
well, some
we
of
all
us
dislike
don't
it for
like
different
but
reasons.
we all agree that it's need to be done.
Right.
And
there's a lot of different
I
reasons.
understand the
that
reasons why it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's inevitable either way.
We agree to
2014,
disagree.
Things change. I agree that you're right. How's that sound? Pretty good. All right. So anyway, yeah, let's do this right now. If you're looking for some information on me, I'm gonna warn you. I'm not a social man, but if you're, the biggest things that I would support right now, obviously, is Ace Games TV network. Myself and Tyler created quite a while ago. Mioni's been a contributor to for quite some time as well. Should be obvious where to find that by now. YouTube.com/AceGamesTV. But the other big, these two things are like king and queen for me. The guild is the second one. I've been running this guild now on Firetree for, since ICZ came out. How long is that? 2008, maybe? I don't even know. It's been a while. And this is my bread and butter. This is the reason I don't play other video games, because there's no point. Got like 30 some people in that guild, a good 15 of them are really, really close friends of mine. And that's what it's all about. So if you're interested in playing WoW, if you're a friend of the channel, friend of the, the website, Stratics, stuff like that, you're welcome in the guild, but otherwise that's pretty much it for me. Tyler?
For me, it would be, follow my personal YouTube, youtube.com/SciGamer, Twitch, youtube.com/Siler, and social medias, twitter.com/SciGamer, facebook.com/SciGamer. If you got any questions about pretty much anything WoW, then I check it daily and all.
What UI is that?
It's Tally UI.
Okay.
So
and then Mioni?
You can find me over again at Ace Games TV YouTube, where I occasionally do stuff. Did a lore series. I haven't been posting many videos recently, but there's going to be a lot more now. I have some sort of time allocations. We're going to get a bit more structure going into that, I think, especially towards Warlords of Draenor. So be sure to check out videos for that. There will be a lot of content. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. I talk a load of bullshit and follow various people and sometimes engage with the community over at twitter.com/MioniAce. And that's about it, really. Other than obviously going over to WoW Stratics, where I do the occasional lore article and other rants. So be sure to check out and bookmark that site. It's our bread and butter now, so be sure to do that.
Yep. And Sam Coast, if I remember from the last podcast, you had a lot of really interesting ways that we can contact you.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. SamCost44. That's about it. And still, yet again, don't ask me anything. I know shit.
Okay, don't ask him anything. And you'll update Twitter quite often, if I remember correctly.
Once a year, maybe.
Once a year, perfect. Okay, great.
Yeah.
There you go. Break. We're done. All four of us. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. No guests this time. Unfortunately, we didn't feel like we had way too many varying opinions. It would have been way too long with the fifth opinion. So that's it.
Thank you for watching or listening.
Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
The WoW Stratics Podcast, the official voice of a World of Warcraft Stratics fan site. wow.stratics.com.